What is it about being in this industry besides some of the great training that you've had and people that have accepted you? What is it that made you fall in love with this manufacturing community?
What really made me fall in love with it was the creativity. So I've always been a little bit of a creator. I've painted, I've made things, I've made jewelry, put stuff together. And when I first got into this industry, first, coming into it not knowing, you think it's all, you don't see it for what it is. Or you've heard things about the manufacturing industry and you don't realize until you walk into a shop and you see like this piece of metal that's like kind of ugly at first. It's this matted, dirty piece of metal, and
just a chunk of metal. Yeah.
And they put it, it's basically a blank canvas. They put it in a machine and they program it and it comes out into something that's going to go inside your body to repair something in your body, or it's going to get
replace a knee or a hip or something like that. Yeah.
Or it's going to get shot out into outer space or something. So I really fell in love with not just the machining itself, but where everything is going. Okay, so like there's the elephant in the room. I'm a female and I'm younger.
You are, whatever.
Yeah, and not that it's an elephant, but I think sometimes people worry about asking me like, so how is it being a woman in the industry? And that's really, I think, what makes me different.
How is it being a woman in this industry?
So for me, it is what you make of it.
It is what you make of it.
Just like any job anybody does, whether they're a man or like, there's always going to be specific things that are maybe barriers or walls that you have to break down. And in this case, it's still considered a man's industry and there's the reality of things. What I have always done is just focus on why I'm there. Focus on what I can control. So if I'm walking up to a customer and they see me and they have doubts, I can't control what they're thinking. But what I can control is the experience that they have from the time we start talking shop to the time I walk out the door. And my priority walking in is the same when I walk out is, did they get what they need? I've found that focusing on that, you have nothing to worry about after that, because whatever preconception they may have had is usually gone, because by the time you actually start talking about the applications and talking about the work, people just zone into that. And it's been a positive experience for me. And if anything...
Good. That makes me happy to hear.
Yeah. And if anything, I think it's been, it's like a powerful aspect for me, because I take it on as a challenge always. So I've actually had people who felt comfortable enough to tell me, to be honest, when you were walking in, like I was just kind of rolling my eyes. I was like, I don't know why you're here. Why did they send you in? But it's always been followed up with, but I was very impressed by your knowledge of the industry, your knowledge of your tooling, et cetera.
Yeah. Do you think that coming from outside of industry and not being like me, decades in, that you can bring a different perspective and a different way to look at a problem? I mean, I would certainly think that it would, because anytime that I always say the best board of directors, the best groups, the best collaborations that I can get is, I remember when I was the chairman of the board of a manufacturing association, I always said, I want a diverse group of people sitting at the table, because I know at the end of the day, everybody sitting at this table has a unique skill set and a unique perspective on something. And I don't care if they're outside of industry or not. Everyone is going to throw a great idea on the table. And when we all look at that idea together, unified, we're gonna make things happen. We're going to make the world change. So I mean, do you feel as though that you can bring a different perspective and just help them get their solutions done faster?
Yeah. Let's see. So I've had experiences like that, let's say when I'm working with our engineering manager. So maybe somebody sends over a drawing or gives us a scenario and I'm working with him. I've had scenarios in that type of situation where it's almost like, because it was a blank canvas in the beginning, I see some other possibilities. And I think that came also with, this is like my 8th year into the industry. So I have at times surprised myself, because I'll ask him, but couldn't they also like cut from this side or, do it this way? And it's always fun when that happens because every once in a while he'll be like, oh, actually, yeah, that makes sense. So I don't know if that's from not having, you hear a lot of times like that's the way it's always done.
Right. That's a dangerous statement.
Yeah. And so you hear that all the time and they just automatically go, they see that feature and they automatically go to that exact way that a lot of people do it. So I've had instances like that. And also I would say with the marketing point of view, coming up with some cool ideas. And I think there's definitely an advantage if you have the genuine interest in it, you start, asking yourself different questions on how to get different results.
How has Instagram helped you in your career? Because I know you're active there and try to cultivate a community there as well.
It's basically been the best.
Okay.
It's oh yeah. So I first got on Instagram when I was at Raptor, and I remember telling my bosses like, "Hey, do you mind if I start an Instagram for Raptor?" And they were, they didn't exactly knock it down, but they were like, I guess if you want to spend time on that,
They had no idea what you could do with it.
Yeah. And frankly, I didn't know what I could do with it, but I thought, hey, if I get 10 followers, okay, that's 10 people who know about the product and hopefully it can help a couple of them in their shop. And
that was kind of our sentiment when we started making chips as well, to be honest with you. We can get like 10 people to listen. That's great.
I've heard you guys say that before, and I totally relate to that because it's the exact same thing. But I went on there and I started posting and I realized there's this ginormous community and I totally judged it ahead of time because I was thinking, machinists aren't going to be on Instagram. That's for just millennials only. And
no, they live there.
I underestimated it. Yeah. And so it's been fantastic. Out of being on social media, I got a lot of different, collaborated with a lot of people and, companies that have huge followings that we did either joint marketing campaigns or they use the product and, we got featured and, but not just that, just being able to continue to understand what's going on, like on the ground floor of manufacturing and seeing other people's parts and ideas. It's also... Yeah, so not only is it good for business, but good for learning because you're not just seeing things that are in magazines and ideal parts, and people are pretty honest and open, I think, on social media. So, yeah, it's been great.